Hi and welcome to the Outquisitions podcast, where we spotlight industry leaders redefining success. The goal of each episode of the podcast is to uncover their stories, their strategies, and insights to inspire, inform, and really elevate your own journey. So let's dive into today's conversation with yet another super inspiring guest. If you want to listen to a really interesting talk, then stay tuned.
Ekaterina, really pleased that you've joined us today. And as of the first question, to kick things off, could you share a little bit about yourself and what made you start the company?
Bonjour, Kylian. Guten Tag, Kylian.
Exactly.
And hello, everyone. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast. It's exciting to be able to talk to you and share with you and with the audience, my journey. Well, as you noticed, just a little bit of a hint, I'm a multilingual person, but also a multicultural person because I'm coming from a multicultural family. And they're being surrounded by different cultures and being talked about my heritage, like one of my part of my family is Greek. So I've been always, reminded about my Greek nose and my Greek heritage. But specifically, when I was a teenager and I had a chance to go around different European countries on a student trip, I was exposed to so-called cultural immersion, where you live with host families. And what happened there, that I realized that I couldn't use just, English or Polish or Russian, like any language, I spoke at the time. I had to learn French or I had to learn Dutch. I don't speak Dutch, French, oui, je parle. But the problem was that imagine we would come into like a hotel in France first and we would ask just for water because, we would want to cook noodles, the time of like instant noodles, like 2 a.m. Yeah. And then suddenly we would discover that nobody would speak English and we would try to figure it out and remember Latin, speaking Latin, and then somehow get some water. So there were like different stories where I realized that nobody at the time teaching us routine, rituals of different cultures in those languages. And what's specific about it, that you're currently in Warsaw, right? And part of my family from there, and also I lived a small town in Warsaw. And the way how you start your morning in Warsaw, let's say, with our local, like Polish people, would be completely different from the way how you start your morning in France and Germany. I mean, specifically, local kind of peculiarities. I'm not talking about nomad life right now because it's slightly different. And that inspired me so much, those differences inspired me so much that when I was back from my trip, I started dreaming about my own multilingual, multicultural center that at some point I would open and I would teach people that not only language, but also culture, mindset, worldview, how we interact in these cultures and what happens to us when we get caught up in that cross-cultural dialogue. So, things forward, forward 10 years, I started Amolingua. Still not everything, 100% as I envisioned. It's a journey, I'm still developing it. But at some point, I think we will get even deeper to what I just described.
Amazing. So talking, how many languages do you speak, by the way? First of all, this is great.
It's like such a difficult question. I'll explain why. Because there is a very big question about what is fluent, right? So how fluent are you? So I typically say that I speak 9 languages, different levels, because I've studied, I've lived, I've worked in the countries of these languages. Therefore, I can say, all right, I've experienced it. Like I've experienced a life there, the culture I understand. Maybe, like German, I'm much less, secure in German, let's say, than in Italian, just because when I was a kid, when I was 4 years old, my parents sent me to school, like to German school, literally. Just everything was in German, and I was traumatized in German because a teacher was yelling at me,
Right.
in German.
In German.
In
Yeah.
German. Just imagine with all this. So also, part of my mission at Amolingua to, prevent people getting traumatized from, such experiences. Well, I think, mostly cured this trauma, healed, but horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, but these 9 languages, then there, of course, similar languages. Like when we speak, Dutch, and I can understand some of that. I can understand some of Swedish, for instance, right? Or Romanian. But I don't speak them, obviously, but I understand. So I typically say that I understand another doesn't, but probably even more. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. What are, would you say, the benefits that you can, that's a top 2 or top 3 benefits that you can enumerate, let's say, when talking that many languages and really just being in touch with so many different cultures?
Good question.
How is it like to live life that way?
Well, I believe you know it yourself because you're at least bilingual or trilingual. I presume, I believe you're at least 3 languages. And you know how amazing it is just to expand your horizons, right? When you are looking around and you're seeing that, let's say, horizon of one culture, of one language is not enough, and many, multiple horizons, like horizon in each language. It's like multiple universes. Why so? Because it's not just about words. It's not just about, grammar and vocabulary. It's much deeper. It's eventually about who we are as human beings, who we are as people, and about our values, about our decisions, then the prisms through which we look at the world. And often what happens when you speak multiple languages and you are getting immersed into multiple cultures, you expand yourself, like your core self. And suddenly you realize, oh, what's acceptable in this culture, maybe not acceptable in that culture, or maybe it's like something completely different. And what am I going to do? So it teaches you adaptability. And I believe right now, in this ever-changing world, or the world of VUCA, as well, like they say, we need to learn the skill of adaptability. And when we talk about international companies, right? So whether it's an individual, whether it's international company, managers, we all need to learn how to adapt to new rules of this game, of this global game. And just speaking English is not enough. Yeah, it's great, but it's not enough. And just speaking a language is not enough. We need to learn how, not just like traditions, but how to connect the different parts of ourselves in a new culture. And that's my research as well about. So I'm doing this language alter ego thing for the past 15 years, where I say, look, apparently, like research shows, and like empirical research and also different studies, that we create different personalities or sub-personalities in new languages. What it means that it influences directly our behavior, so how we express our emotions. About decision making, it's a bit, tricky, still, like whether language influences cognition or cognition language, but it definitely influences team dynamics, right? The way how we interact with our colleagues, our employees, even our family members, and what it implies, the complexity, behind such intercultural communication.
Right, right. Okay. So this skill of adaptability, do you actually help people develop this skill of adaptability? And if so, how?
I feel, it comes together with, language and culture training. Yeah, because when you start acquiring new language and culture, you start creating a new point of view on familiar things. And what this teaches you that there are different opinions.
And often, people can get stuck in this, I am right. This is, this is my value. This is like how I feel about certain thing. But in fact, there are multiple opinions, multiple values, multiple points of view. And if we want to be able to create communities, right, to impact people, make a strong team as leaders, we need to be able to look at the situation from different perspectives. So when we learn, well, in our case, when we teach languages and cultures, we help to switch. And of course, it creates this adaptability, agility as well, and so-called, neuroplasticity. So this is like neuroscience, that languages help with neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity, like in its turn helps with adaptability, like because your psychology, your psyche actually manages to be more agile to readjust to new circumstances. And then what happens that you may also subsequently develop emotional intelligence, kind of, going all together, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence. Like I can't imagine developing cultural intelligence without emotional one. And with language, as we focus not only on cognitive side, right? So words, but also trying to see this emotional side, talking more about it. Also body language mimics, so different language, different culture. We teach the brain basically here, how to switch, how to shift. And this helps them, a person just get it into the system, to their system, saying, oh, it's okay for me to look at things from different perspectives. It's okay for me to work with people from different cultures and be flexible from time to time because, I understand that things can be quite different from what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm. Right. So who can you help? Because it seems like you can literally help any human being, right?
That's like, helping everybody, helping nobody,
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Right.
So at this very moment, we are mostly focusing on B2B companies, like on companies working international business and also universities, right? We were starting as B2C, but at some point I realized that if we collaborate with agencies, companies, even relocation companies, or companies that help with au pair and work and travel, and then international studies and so on. So there we can impact more people. Still, I feel that probably we'll be back to like B2C track specific programs like in the following years for professionals, HR managers and their students. Like I would say that our generation and then younger need to grasp those skills of adaptability, creativity, and also like multilingualism, multiculturalism. Even though you may say, well, with AI right now, we're going to speak all the languages. True, but not true. Why so? I've been also involved into AI training, and also like given, courses on AI already like connected to culture, emotions, linguistics. And I must tell you that those people who've been training AI, how they say like developers, and like I respect them. I believe it's great what they are doing. Often they lack certain skills, and or maybe they're just monolingual, that are not focusing on things that matter in a global world, and subsequently AI lacks those skills, right? Or lacks that knowledge. And if AI lacks that knowledge, it means that we as human beings must be able to to acquire the skills, and then maybe potentially in the future train AI about these differences. But in the following, like I think 3-5 years, no, not yet. Mm-hmm.
Got you. Interesting. So in the corporate market, those B2B international companies, who do you help within those companies? Is it managers, those top leaders, HR? And yeah. Can you
It's a mix.
give us more context?
It's a mix, yes.
Okay.
So typically, obviously we start with HR managers and then talk about your employees. And employees, when we think with you about employees, those who work with international clients, could be sales team, right? How to sell another culture. It could be like teams as well, teams of developers, those who are presenting their projects, right? Like team leaders. And then when we talk with you about C-suite, yes, from time to time, we also help executives. Specifically, I've been working a lot on public speaking for executives in another language, another culture.
Okay.
As you know, it's also quite different. The way, let's say even like, we take with you as startups, the way how startups pitch in Europe, how pitch in US, they're different. So we also train those. So skills in another language, another culture. But what I noticed that some companies, also like startups that are growing, be serious, now try to hire locals in a new region. It's good, but there is an issue. You have your, let's say, American managers who have to manage like Brazilian managers. Yeah, you've hired the location. What happens? There's discrepancy. There's nothing in between to help to connect American managers to Brazilian ones. And there can be a problem. So there must be some sort of training to help to establish bridges to connect those two. Obviously, Brazilians will try and to accommodate Americans, especially if a lot of money is involved. But no, there will be issues. And the way how, say, American culture is built around individualism, around, all the values of achievement, it's quite different from Brazilian one. And potentially an American boss be just unhappy with the performance, the KPIs, the Brazilian team delivers, thinking, oh, but we've done like what we could and even more. So in order to bridge this gap, you need a training.
Okay. And so for a business, what would you say the benefit in a few sentences?
Yeah.
That's, looking at the business overall,
Mm-hmm.
what they would gain out of adaptability like this. Yeah.
That's a very good one. Like last year while we were accelerating in New York, I was saying I had different examples, like for instance with IT teams that had like different players here in team and clients, like there were like Latin America and Eastern Europe and US. So typically, US are the big boss, your client, and then you have Latin America and Eastern Europe. When we help them with languages, so first of all, obviously, guys became more fluent, like in Spanish and English, like depending, how they were working with who we were working. And it already eliminated miscommunication. It started saving time. So projects were completed faster. And I think that's very important when you start your saving time because it's about optimization, right? But then it's more when they became like more culturally aware in a way. What happened, they started changing their communication style. And when you change communication style, when you become like more attuned as a global team, what happens? So you save time, but also like retention rates are much better. So people don't want to leave; they enjoy being, together there. And then it impacts as well sales. Why? Because obviously you're raising effective communication, so you raise this bar, right? And then it's about adjusting to clients, like shifting values and understanding better the culture of the client, right? And not just company culture, we're talking about like culture in its sense, right? They're like national culture. And this then helps with sales. And obviously, and then business can grow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it does make sense. It seems like actually this skill of adaptability, it will just improve. It's a huge part of leadership as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that we don't do like, leadership coaching. I have, I have a few colleagues here if we need, the space. So I will say right now training, but The thing is that if you want to be a good leader, you remember Jack Ma?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jack Ma said the following things many years ago. In order to be a good leader, you need an IQ, right? So we know what is IQ. You need EQ, right? So EQ we also know. Then you need CQ, so cultural intelligence. And then you need LQ. What is LQ?
Linguistic intelligence, isn't it?
I thought the same, and I believe we need to add like the fifth quadrant. This is love Q. So he highlights, so he highlights it specifically that like emotional quotient, EQ can have it obviously inside, but if we put outside LQ, it means that we emphasize our focus on well-being of our employees, of our clients, just doing things that we love and with love. And I believe that that's beautiful. So eventually, good leader must have IQ, EQ, CQ, and 2 LQs.
Yeah, right. Okay. Now, what's next for you then? Within the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months.
So much is going on.
Yeah.
So, I am in process of publishing my book series that will help learners and teachers. And it could be, this book can be good for managers, for professionals, for those who would like to understand better how they can acquire skills. Well, not only languages and cultures, but again, like how to acquire like adaptability skills and like learn how to learn. And then we have like projects coming up. We're starting with like TOEFL and ESL and cultural intelligence trainings in US, in Texas, in New York. So in other states, seeing how we get into the picture. And there are also, big projects in Mexico, Latin America. So I'm very excited about, all these new challengers. I want to see how they will play out and how many people we're going to impact in the following months.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds great. And if anyone listening right now wants to get in touch with you, either to just talk to you, have more insights on how you can help them potentially, or anything else, how can those people connect with you and where?
Absolutely. So first of all, you can always go to Amolingua and reach out to us, asking for me, at Amolingua. Amolingua means actually I love language in Latin. And another way would be LinkedIn, where you can find me by my official name, Ekaterina Matveeva. And also, my website and their Instagram, Twitter, language alter ego, look in there.
Nice.
So
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Ekaterina, thank you. Was great.
Thank you so much, Glenn.